Here I am again. I probably have to collect all of you guys again. Sorry, I'm learning. But anyhow, I'll wait a little bit for you guys to get back on. Um, Hello, hello, hello. How disappointing. Okay, waiting, waiting, waiting. All right, well, I'll go ahead. I hope you all find your way back. Um, Hi, Brooklyn. I'm waiting for some of the folks to get back. Hi, Cherie. I don't know if I have to. It says tap to invite. You can hear me, right? Okay, I'm persevering. While we wait for folks to come back in, um, what happened was I went online to find out how to not have the phone ring, and it said you could put it in airplane mode but turn the wireless on. So what I did when I lost you is I went back in and I thought I hit the wireless thing, but I hit the Bluetooth thing. So I'm waiting for it to refresh, and it didn't. So I figured I'd just make that other one part one. We'll make this one part two, and I guess we've got. Hey, John Littau, want to come and visit you again, brother? Cindy Dickerson, hey, from Florida. Oh, you're not from Florida necessarily, but you love me in Florida. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Brenda Dixon. Hawaii. Great, thanks. Welcome, Hawaii. Boy, do I want to get back to Hawaii. We used to go there and minister almost every year for many years. In fact, our greatest vacation was in Hawaii with all my kids, and we did all three of the islands, and we went to Oahu first, and then we did Maui. Hi, Alex. Hi, Dave again. Dave Bergen, my good buddy from Kelowna, BC, and then we wound up on Kona because we were doing Bob Fitz's worship seminars, and yes, John Littau, let's do it. I'll have Paul call you. We'll do a worship night. Um, I guess you guys can you. I guess you can read those things too. Again, I'm learning. So that was really our finest family vacation and the best time we had. And we did Bob Fitz's worship seminar at Kona YWAM base there. Bob's not doing that anymore, from what I know. But I want to get back to Hawaii again and come and see all you folks in Hawaii. So maybe we can work that out. So anyhow, those of you that missed the first part of this part two, I'll pick up where I left off. Where I think I was where was I? I was talking about making the album, and so I was talking about this song. So I was getting it line upon line. I'll refresh for those of you coming on. I was doing this album called Voice of the Wind, where I was trying to capture the worship moment that I was experiencing in my. If you're just tuning in now, you can go back and see part one of this. I think they're posted again. I'm learning, so I think you can hear the first part of this. It's only about 15 minutes long, and so as I got the lines, it started off late last night. I saw you standing there, and then there'd be a pause, and the chord would continue, and the lovely ribbons in your hair, which was kind of unusual, and because it was kind of specific to a daughter. And the lines just kept coming, and it was just so personal. It was the Father speaking to someone who really felt alienated from God. In fact, I'll just recite the lyrics as I can remember them. Late last night I saw you standing there, the lovely ribbons in your hair. You were all alone, you were all alone. You thought you were all alone, but I was there, standing next to you, seeing all the tears you shed, all the tears you shed. And then I forget what it was, but it's actually recorded. It's on my album Evening Shadows, and if you can go to like Amazon or iTunes and get it. It's called The Tear. The Tear. It's on the album Evening Shadows, but it's unique because the recording is the actual creation of the song. As I received the song, I got through the song, and I didn't tamper with it at all. I didn't add anything. I just put it on the album just like it was received, and at the end I began to weep. And there's a little of that on the recording that I couldn't get out. But that was my first. That was the second attempt at recording the album. But what worked the best was we just brought the recording equipment into churches, and we did it over 3 different nights in 3 different towns. We did it in Bakersfield, we did it in Sherman Oaks, California, I think, and I forget where the third one was. And I basically did the same material 3 nights in a row with just me and my keyboard and my little string pad. And then I took those tapes back in and I edited as little as possible, and embellished with, I got Maurice Sklar to play violin. It was really cool. He just came into the studio and he just played, in the booth. We usually isolate everybody. I hope that wind isn't wrecking the sound too much. And I'll try to cover it here. And so that was my beginning excursion into, this idea of prophetic worship, and then creating this album called Voice of the Wind. Now, what I want to cover yet today, I came into your room. Jim McNicholas is putting the lyrics up there. But anyhow, what I want to share, the first thing I'm going to share in this, what will be, hopefully I'll do one tomorrow morning too, is the 4 most important things I've learned about worship. Because talking about that study, going back to that study, I learned so much in that 2 years of studying, tapes, books, everything that people were giving me, and learning all the typology out of the Old Testament, like I mentioned in the first video. And over the years, I'm kind of a practical guy. Are those things coming? Can you see those texts and things? Somebody can tell me or not? I got to learn how to shut that off too, if you can see those. But anyhow, I don't think you can, so I think that's good. But over the years, when I come into a church for one time, a one-shot deal, I only have a minute. A one-shot, not a minute, but I only have an hour or an hour and a half to get my message across. So I usually, if I teach this. And then if I come back more times, I teach deeper. I teach into deeper things. But what I'm going to share with you, and I'll just do part 1 today because I don't want these to be too long, because I don't want people to get, too busy. You have to eat dinner. I don't even know the best time to do these are yet, but I'll learn. And so the first point of these 4 most important things I've learned about praise and worship is, number 1 is that worship is for God. And it's a really important point, because a lot of us come, and there's really nothing wrong with wanting to receive. We need to receive as Christians, but there's really nothing wrong with wanting to receive, but we need to come into worship with this attitude of just blessing God. First of all, it's an amazing opportunity to bless God with our brothers and sisters. That's why I really do love worship services in church, because it's the body worshiping. And we need to clear our minds of everything and just really focus on God. And believe me, I have maybe one of the hardest times doing this, because I do so much worship. It's like my living. And when I get to church sometimes, I feel like I just, let them sing, I've been doing this. Sometimes I do this 6-7 times a week when I was really busy or I was doing tours. And I'd come into church and I'd feel that way about it. I'd feel like, let them sing, and then God would just tap me on the shoulder and say, no, you need to participate. You need to get into it. So the main thing I'm trying to share with you right now is that we need to make it about Him. Now, it doesn't mean we won't receive. Some of us go to church and worship to receive, and it's nothing wrong with that, but it's really a lesser motive for worship, because we really should be there for Him. Now, here's the cool part. You will receive, because God is the ultimate blesser. So even if you go in there and your attitude is, Lord, I give myself to you right now in worship. I give you with my whole heart and soul with no strings attached. I just want to praise you, Lord. And, I just want you to be blessed. He'll begin to bless you back, because that's what He does. He's the blesser. So you will be blessed. But don't do it for the blessing. Do it to bless Him. And you know, in churches today, a lot of reasons people go to church is to receive. And like I say, receiving is part of what church is for. Church is kind of like, it can be a hospital, or it can be a boot camp to train. You know, it serves a lot of functions, and there's a lot of hurting people that go into church that need to receive. I do. I need to receive when I go to church. I want to receive from the Word. I want to receive from the worship. But we need to separate that time of worship and just make our motive be to just bless Him with wild abandon. I'm an eye closer. I like to come in and I like to raise my hands. Raising my hands gives me this sense of feeling connected to God, almost like His hand is reaching down to touch mine, like a little kid reaching up to his dad, and then God reaches down to touch my hand in worship. And I just want to bless Him. I want Him to be blessed. And as we listen to the songs and we get into it, our whole motive should be to bless Him. And just kind of, you know, a little commentary here, that a lot of the church services today, a lot of the people that go to church services kind of like become a bless me club. Let me get what I can out of church. And a lot of people aren't thinking about what they can give back to God. It's kind of like what Kennedy said once on a national level. One of his most famous quotes was, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." So what can I do for my God? We have to realize what a privilege it is. We as Christians, God called us to worship in spirit and in truth. Okay? Now we've got the truth part down, because we're the only, you know, there's a lot of people that can worship with more fervor than we do. There's a lot of people who put more emotion into their worship than many Christians. And you see it in all kinds of pagan rituals. There's lots of emotion, but they don't worship in truth, and they're not worshiping the true God. We as Christians know that we don't have any doubt in our mind that Jesus is Lord and that we're worshiping the true God. It's an awesome privilege. And as we worship the true God, we worship in truth, but we don't always worship in spirit. What I see in that, just one takeaway, is that a lot of our worship services today are really up-tempo. You know, people want the up-tempo songs. They want to clap their hands. They want to stomp their feet, dance around, and all those are legitimate expressions of worship. But to worship Him in spirit, that's why I kind of digress here a bit, but that's why I really do like, when I lead worship, I almost hardly ever do up-tempo songs, because first of all, I'm not that good at keyboard, and my calling is more in worship, getting people into the Holy of Holies. So I do soft songs. Now, is a soft song more spiritual than a up-tempo song? No, it's just music. It's what it conveys, right? So if I sing an up-tempo song, it can be just as anointed and just as spiritual as an up-tempo song. But when the mood changes, and why I think the value of slower songs is that it quiets down the physical. You know, we are not clapping our hands anymore. Our minds are thinking about the lyrics more, because we're not, you know, in the excitement of the moment. Now, again, we need celebration, but we need to come before the Lord and find that place of reverence. And a lot of churches today, they don't even get there. You know, their worship services are all really up-tempo. Maybe they'll do one token soft song, and they never really get into true worship. And sometimes when they do, if the pastor's not sensitive, he comes up and, you know, it's like you're in this moment with God, and there's a hush on the audience, and they'll come up and say, "Now turn in your Bibles to 1 Corinthians," or they'll say, "Now it's time for the bulletin." Well, it's what I call, in hip talk, it's called a quench. You know, it quenches the spirit. And we need to learn how to flow with those things. And that's why I love the idea of worship evenings. Pastor John Littau was inviting me to come and do a worship night, because I've been to his church before, and so we're going to do that. And we'll just do a night where we set ourselves aside for worship, and we'll worship God, and it'll be more worship than praise because of my style. It's not that it's better than someone who does up-tempo worship. In fact, I quite enjoy a lot of up-tempo people, the people that do up-tempo worship well. Keith Green could really rock the piano, and I love the fact that he could carry it with the piano. I'm sort of limited in my piano skills. When I was learning music, I learned early on I was really never going to be a great pianist. It's not a negative confession. It's just, you know, just somewhere down the line you have to acknowledge what you're good at and what you're not. And I concentrated more on the songwriting and the singing. So I'm good when I have a band behind me, because the band can carry the the up-tempo stuff, and I love to lead praise. But when I'm invited solo into a church, I mostly just sit there at my keyboard and I draw the people into soft, intimate worship, and people really seem to enjoy it, because I don't think they get it a lot. They aren't getting it a lot in their churches, and unless you have worship nights, where time is set aside for that type of worship, people don't get a lot of time to do that kind of worship. So let's see if I have anything more to say about this. I don't want to ramble on with nothing to say, but what I do want to say is just to kind of reinforce a little bit too, is that in everything we do, we have to develop more of a sense of what we can do for God. When I hear somebody compliment a ministry, they'll say, he's doing a mighty work for God. Well, maybe he's doing a work for God. God will bless everything, by the way. God will bless whatever your efforts are, however ill-founded or how much he hasn't necessarily directed you. But it's almost like God saying, I'll bless what you're doing, but I sure wish you wouldn't do that. I sure wish you'd do what I would like you to do, and really pray about what to do. When we do street ministry, I like to pray about who God wants me to talk to. What should I do in street ministry? Not just go out there with a method, and I just do this now, or I do this song. I don't really pass out tracks and stuff when I do street ministry. I'm more doing the music. But I ask God about what songs to do, what's going to touch the people. Sometimes we Christianize secular songs, and we'll do a song that's familiar to the people. Like we used to do, Mark Johnson, my friend, he used to do the song La Bamba. But instead of La Bamba, he'd sing, I love Jesus, da 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 da. And, people know the melody, so they're drawn in. And then when they get up close, they hear the Christian lyric, and then we can go into worship. And sometimes we gather a little crowd, sometimes not. But leading up to worship all the time, because worship on the streets is powerful too. But I digress. I'll do a thing on street evangelism one of these days too, because this is part 2 of my first, for those of you that just tuned in, okay? And so anyhow, I think that's about all I have to say. You get the point. Most of you that are my friends are mature Christians, but the idea is that we need to really just dedicate that wonderful hour and a half on Sunday to God, and commit ourselves entirely to Him, to just bless Him, and then we will be blessed in return. And I have heard and have experienced many miracles done in my services and other services where people are just worshiping because God wants to bless you when you worship. So you don't even have to sometimes ask Him. I've had people healed in my meetings. We didn't have a healing service. They'll just come up after me and say, I came in here, I'm blah, 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 blah. And they'll tell me, not a lot. I'm not going to tell you it happens all the time. But once in a while, I've had people healed in my meetings. I was leading worship one time, soft worship, and I closed my eyes, right? So I was like closing my eyes, leading worship, and for about 10, 12 minutes. And when I opened my eyes, I looked down, and there were about 10 people, not on their knees, on their faces at the altar, just worshiping God. And those kind of experiences aren't all the time. I'm not trying to say that happens all the time in my meetings, but those times when they happen, I know it's God. I've never been a cheerleader as a worship leader. I don't really even like that churches make people stand, because I'm getting old. And I can only stand for so long, and then pretty soon I'm not comfortable and I can't even really worship. And I feel if I sit down, because I'm kind of a, quote, celebrity Christian, people will say, oh, he's a bad example because he sat. So you feel kind of like you're more about, like, how long can I stand, than am I really worshiping God? So in my services, I just encourage people to, I don't tell them what to do. In fact, I'll tell them sometimes, I'll say, you can sit, stand, you can do whatever you want, whatever makes you comfortable to worship God, because our position isn't important. It's our heart, that our heart is connected to God, and if it's easier to do that sitting, then that's what I encourage. Anyhow, I think that's about it. I don't want to make these too long. Tomorrow I'll cover the second point of the 4 most important things I've learned about worship. But here's what I want to do before, if you don't leave me, please, here. I've got some announcements here I want to make. I've got them written down on a piece of paper here. First of all, I'm preparing an Indiegogo campaign to do a new album. We'll be launching that in a couple, 3 weeks, and it'll be on my website and Facebook announcements. And then also want to encourage you to share. I guess you can share these, and if you share them, they go further. And I've got to learn how. This is on my fan page. I'm sorry, this is on my friend page, and we're chock full. We're at 5,000, so you can't be my friend on that. But you can go to the other website. That's the fan site. I hate that word, but that's what they call it. And there's unlimited. You like it, and you'll get the posts. You'll get everything. That's what I understand. And I found out today that instead of the long number, if you just go to Facebook and you put in Chuck Girard CCM, that page will come up, and then you like it, and then I think you'll receive everything just like as if you were the friend on my friend page, okay? And I can do these from the fan page as well, but I'm going to try to learn how to put them on both. I think you can move this, not move it over, but duplicate it on both sites. So hopefully these will reach all of you, the 5,000 of you that are on my friends on my friend page, and then there's about 3,000 on my fan page. So go like the fan page. Now the next announcement is that first of all, to share these, if you would. I will say a short thing about giving. We have a donation button on our website, and you can give if you enjoy these. We would appreciate the support. We live off offerings, and so that would be appreciated. Now, the other thing I'm doing that's just starting is salons. They're in people's houses, and we've got a couple of them. We've got one Saturday night. I've done home meetings before, and we haven't called them salons, but this is something we're making available to people that would like to have me come to your home, and all you have to provide is your living room. We'll bring the piano. We haven't figured out how to do them long distance. I live in Tennessee, but I'm out here in California for the most part. So we're really only booking salons locally here where we can bring the piano. But if you can supply an electronic piano and you want to fly me somewhere, that's the only expense that it would be. And then I would receive the offering, and we would have a meeting in your home. And I hope that turns out to be more of a successful thing, because I love home group meetings. They're so intimate and so powerful. And then I do services, churches of any size. If you're interested in having me come to sing in your church, I've been doing it for years. I don't ask you how many people you have in your church. I just come and I do a service at your church, and that's what I do. That's, I don't have another job. This is just what I do. I also want to remind you about my website. It's chuckgirard.com, www.chuckgirard.com, and anything new will be announced there. Plus, we try to keep my itinerary up. I'm really lazy at it, but we'll try to keep it more efficient. We're also looking for dates in Southern California for June. The first 2 weekends in June. I need to come down there on some other business, and we're looking for Sunday services, or even Sunday night, or any night that you have available, Wednesday night in Southern California, but it is in the early part of June. So if you would like to have me come to your church in Southern California in the early part of June, yes, I would come to Redding, California. I absolutely would. So I don't know how, if you go to my website, you can contact me through the website, and it tells you how to book me. So just go to the website and look at bookings. That's for Christy Corrigan. I would love to come to Redding, and we're right up here all the time. So I just be driving up there. My friend Paul, we get in the car, and we come and we'll share at your church. So please contact me through the website. Send me a message, or message me on Facebook, or email me. My email, I can't write it down, but it's just chuck@chuckgirard.com. It's just chuck@chuckgirard.com, and get in touch with us, and then I'll put you in touch with people that can put the meeting together, or we'll put it together ourselves. Secondly, fifthly probably now, my book will be coming out of my life story soon. It's tentatively scheduled for July. It's been 20 years in the writing, and it's going to be my life story, and tentatively called Rock and Roll Preacher. And all the stuff I'll be sharing on these little videos will be in detail in the book. So keep your ear open for the book. And then there's tons of YouTube videos. If you go to YouTube, you can YouTube me for hours, not just my Christian stuff, but some of you might know that I was in the group, the Hondells, and I did First Gear, It's All Right. Teresa Hawkinson, we haven't figured out pre-ordering yet for the book, but as soon as we know more about the publishing date, we'll make all that available. We don't even have prices yet, so just keep your ears open. You know, I'll be doing a lot of these. This has been great fun, and I'm going to do more. I'm going to do one tomorrow morning, so be aware of that. I still haven't figured out if there's a better time to do them, if anybody knows, because you're all over the world. So I guess, you know, you just do it and then trust God to get it to the people that He wants to hear them, and hear these little messages. And they're also archived, I guess, so you can access them anytime. But I think that's about it. I had some yeah, so anyhow, I'll see some of you tomorrow. I'll tell you what, let's open it up for a few minutes for questions. If you have a question for me about what I've shared. Alex Jossie, I used to listen to Rock and Roll Preacher over and over. Alex, I've known him for years. You're up in Portland, right, Alex? And I love it when he comes to my concerts and I get to see Alex. I watch him grow up, kind of. He's a great friend. And, you know, I'm so encouraged by these encouraging comments. And I've been wrestling with this for a long time. I've been wanting to set up one of those soundstage things, but you got to do all this stuff to do that. And this YouTube, this Facebook thing just seems like such a great avenue. So thanks for your encouragement. And if anybody has a question, I'll keep it open for a minute or two yet. Dave, and you were at the fire escape. That was Stanton. That was so much fun. I love coffee houses. It's so sad that there aren't more coffee houses in the Christian coffee houses. There's a few back east that I love, and I still get to play a few. There's one in Orange County called the Upper Room. That's a dear friend of mine runs in Laguna Hills, Irvine area. And in fact, I'll make the announcement now. Love Song is playing at the Upper Room July 8th. It's a Saturday. And so all of those down in Orange County area, sign up now. I don't even know if they've announced it yet, but July 8th, it'll be Love Song. Now, Bob Wall has gone to be with the Lord. I think that our friend Phil Bardowell will be filling in for Bob. And then we won't have John either. John lives in Sweden, our drummer, so we'll have Dave Owens on drums, but it'll be Jay and Tommy and myself, and we'll have a great night at the Upper Room on July 8th in Irvine, California. So anybody can contact me at chuck@chuckgirard.com about any of this, or text me, or not text me because you know my phone number, but whatever way that you do, message me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Dina Shorkey, old friend. Yeah, that was fun up in at Tri-Lakes Arts Center. I'm in touch with Michael Maddox, and I'm hoping he'll bring me back again pretty soon. That was a great night. Why didn't Love Song do more albums? There's a question, okay? Well, the truth is we were baby Christians when we hit the height of our fame. I don't know Bill Roycroft from Canada, Teresa. We were babies, and we were famous within months, and we were all over the place for the next 3 years. We traveled, and we literally would do 3 services a day. There was one year where probably the whole year where we did 3 services a day, and we did our own roadieing. We would haul all the stuff in for a school assembly in the morning, break it all down, go have lunch, do the same thing in the afternoon, do a concert in the evening. And after 3 years, we'd never been just Christians. We didn't know how to just be Christians. And we had some group meetings, and, we just talked about whether we should keep going or not, because this is all we knew, was being famous Christians. And so we decided the way we approached it, we just prayed, Lord, we're going to disband, and if it's not your will, make us miserable, and if it's your will, give us peace. And God gave us peace. And over the years, we've had a chance to come together many times. We did 2 years of touring with Pastor Chuck Smith before he died. A couple of years before he died, we got to travel the whole nation with him. So we've been playing over the years, but we've also been able to pursue our own ministries. Tommy goes out with Franklin Graham and does the worship for Franklin Graham. But as far as the albums, we kind of knew we were breaking up. I was beginning to start my first solo album, and Final Touch was named that because it was the final touch from Love Song. And so we only did those 2 studio albums, and then we disbanded, and we did a live album later on that to me is still one of the great live albums, not because it's our group, just because it's just such a wonderful document of how you can minister in contemporary Christian music. Hi, Houston, Sharon. How you can minister in music through contemporary Christian music, through rock and roll. And I'll be talking some about the history and stuff as we go too. This is very encouraging because I don't know how many. I guess you can tell there's a number count. Oh, 19 I guess is on. That's not too many, but it's a good start. I guess that's what it means. 17 up here over the deal. So anyhow, thank you all for however long you were able to stay, and you can access this later. Dylan has a question for me, my little granddaughter. Oh my gosh, do I love her. When will I come home? Baby doll, I don't know. Papa wants to come home and see you and kiss your little lippies. Oh, I love you so much, darling. Max Farmer still has a copy of Final Touch. I can't read the whole thing, Jim, but I'll check it out later because it goes into see more. So anyhow, folks, I don't see any more questions. Hi, baby Kaylin, my granddaughter Kaylin just joined in. So spread the word and do this for me. Share these. Thank you for all your thanks, all you folks. I think sharing them helps a lot, doesn't it? I think so. And I'll figure out how to get it over on the other website, maybe on the Jesus music websites too. And I'll be doing more of these. And again, tomorrow morning I plan to do one, but we all know how plans go. I guess that's it for now because I don't want to make this too long. And God bless you. See you tomorrow.